I really think in Season 2, Korea, we really saw a real emergence of these Protoss players that were like, all right, we're going to kind of follow Rain, and then first kind of did his own thing with his aggressive tendencies, and Parting making his resurgence, because these are the best games we've seen from Parting in a while. I mean, I think everyone can agree with that.
He didn't have to play a Zerg, though.
He didn't play a Zerg, that is true. But I think, as far as looking on top of his game, looking like he had a solid plan, and looking like he was confident in himself, I really don't think we'd seen a Parting that was confident in his abilities in a while. And Parting used to always be the guy with the most bluster. He was always super, super pumped just to be playing StarCraft. And so to see him come out and do well in this tournament was really nice to see.
Okay.
Basically, yeah. So I guess I just want to pose the question kind of everybody before we talk about like the grand final, which was basically Parting being the best PvP player out of this tournament at least, and maybe in the world right now, like even holding a proxy 2 gate without scouting it, in base proxy 2 gate with that Parting micro, we all kind of grew to love in Wings of Liberty, where it's obvious he has some of the best control, if not the best, for Protoss. But I just want to ask you guys, like, is Parting back now? Should we expect him to be one of the best Protoss players in the world again, or is it just like WCG's his baby since he's the current champion? What do you guys think?
I still don't think so.
I don't think he's coming back strongly, at least.
Well, we can actually use this to kind of segue into what's coming up tonight, which is Group A for Codes GSL Korea.
Yeah.
There's
Somebody
he's got Pig Baby, Swagger, and Sulky, so 2 Protoss and a Zerg. And so if his Protoss is still on form, I really think Parting has a decent shot to take this group. Yeah, at least make it out. I'd be very surprised.
I want to see him play Sulky, because Sulky's the best Zerg in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I assume that's going to be the winner's match.
Parting
I don't
Sulky.
know if Fields is bringing this up now.
Am I bringing up the finals?
Just bring up the Premier League of WCS.
Okay. The group stages?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't seen Parting play a Zerg in a while, and like when we have seen him, it's looked really bad. I mean, just a lot of gateway expands, playing really standard, but just losing out in the mid game. You know, either that or losing to all ins. But that was Zerg doesn't really do that shit anymore, like the Link Bloods.
Yeah.
Well, then again, like, everyone before this past weekend said, well, we've seen Jaedong play Protoss, so he's obviously not getting out of this group. Or we've seen, like, everyone thought they knew what... We haven't... Parting got taken out pretty quickly in the last... in OSL. So we didn't quite get to see... So he's been, like, by himself practicing, and then he makes an explosion at WCG. So I'm hoping that in that time he kind of took off for himself, he'll have found a way to kind of bring back some Protoss versus Zerg. He's kind of figured out the matchup a little bit.
He also has such good practice partners for PvP and PvT with SK Telecom. But like with Zerg, it's not. I mean, the Zerg practice partners aren't
Sue
there.
is like
Sue, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he really needs to be playing against Sulky and all these other people.
Everybody just want to do like a prediction, 1-2 for Group A then?
Parting and Sulky.
Parting Sulky.
I think everybody can probably agree on that. Like, Parting's going to beat every Protoss player, and Sulky's Sulky. So, like,
and Sulky will beat every Protoss player. That's my prediction.
Exactly.
Wait, what did Artosis say?
Oh yeah,
we got to get the Artosis reader.
He doesn't predict anymore because
I don't think he called.
See him at the finals, like they were asking Apollo all that stuff, and they wouldn't even ask Artosis. He's just sitting there like, it's funny.
All right, well, what do you guys think about, like, I guess we'll just do A, B, and C since those all happened before next week. What do you guys think of B? What 2 players do you see? Only 1 Protoss in there. I don't know how well you guys follow Trap.
Yeah, Symbol and Keen. I actually agree with that. So.
I also agree with that, except I'm going to go Keenan first.
What? Keenan first.
Keen's going to get first place. I'm going to be specific. And maybe he's going to bring back his first ceremony over the course of the last year and a half. That'd be awesome.
I'm a big Keen fan.
Trap might be able to take some games off these guys, though.
Trap's actually really good. Yeah, Trap's really good. I've watched him
doing well in Pro League, right?
But if I remember correctly, Keen's best matchup is TVP, and Symbol is so solid that I just
Symbol makes it to a round of 4, like what the past
round of 8 or round of 4 every time. Yeah.
It's just that guy.
All right, and then we got another heavy Protoss group in C.
I have
predictions?
no idea, to be honest. I mean, I would think Zhangbi and SOS. I mean,
I'm gonna go Jangbi and Deer. I really like Deer's playstyle. I haven't seen very much of him, but like the way he plays is very methodical.
I'm going to go Jangbi and Supernova. I think Supernova proved last season that he's actually one of the best Terrans in the world again, and he has insanely good TVP.
Has he?
I mean, he barely lost to first in the placement matches, and I'm going with Supernova in first or second. Jangbi's the other one.
I agree with you. I'm thinking it's going to be Zhang Bi off his PvP, and I'm thinking Supernova has the potential to just clean the group up. Because he so barely, like, those games versus first, if you got a chance, those were fantastic.
Okay.
All right. So that's the group
So-
stages.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's everything. Now we can talk our own personal stuff.
Do you
someone
want to
throw
start
out
out PVT?
someone throw out a matchup.
PVT.
Oh, okay.
Go.
It's gonna be PvT.
All right, count.
I think it's very balanced. I like. I play very standard PvT all the time, so I think for me it feels like my level at least. It feels like whenever I lose, I'm making mistakes. Whenever they win, I'm making mistakes. I guess I just said the same thing, but
Yeah, that was identical.
whenever I win and lose,
Basically, you
Like,
make a lot of mistakes, Cal.
mistakes.
That's what I gathered from that.
it's easy to make mistakes in PvT though. There's
Yeah.
lots of what's happening all over the map at all times, like, and you always need to be like aware of what you're doing. So
Whatever player fucks up less wins the game. That's
You
basically-
play the rain style, don't you?
not really, because I only make like 3 observers. But I've actually been trying to like do the whole like 4 or 5 observer thing, just to, like, because whenever you do that, I feel really comfortable when I do that, and I probably win more when I do that. I just don't like the idea of like spending so much gas on them for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whereas Primal Moon and I actually have been doing the minigun and gym style of PvT with the Phoenix Colossus
Mm-hmm.
that I
I've been doing
love.
a lot of that too.
How do you feel
By the
about
way.
that? Like weaknesses, strengths?
Weaknesses.
Go ahead.
If they've figured it out, I feel like one of the real strengths of the build, and this should never really be a strength of the build, but Terrans just have no idea kind of what to do. They're like, well, Phoenixes. Why aren't you making Phoenixes? And then you just completely wipe the board with them, and they're like, well, that just looks completely overpowered.
What makes the build really good is the fact that Terran don't know how to react to it properly, and the battles are so one-sided if they don't, right? Because if they don't have enough Vikings, and all their Vikings are dead, and you have Phoenix alive, the game's over. Even if they snipe all the Colossus, because then you can make Colossus, you have Templar, so they have to make more, right? And they don't have the gas for everything, and then they just die. You know what I mean? They don't have it. And if they make the mistake of trying to drop you and run into Phoenixes, that's really bad. If they try to attack you and it's not good, the Phoenix run you down. It's very unforgiving, but if they play the right way, it's also not the best. That's why you don't see like everyone doing it.
Yeah,
But what happens when the
relies
Terran-
on Terran to make mistakes?
What happens when they do figure it out?
well, sometimes they do. Like
The best
Tasia.
reaction,
Asia
yeah.
did against
Yeah.
Gem, or I think it was
Yeah.
Asia
no,
was
against
pretty
Minigun. Minigun.
But-
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest,
But
like,
then that's like,
Asia,
yeah,
like
We lost Pat.
we lost Pat. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll keep going.
We'll reconnect. But like, I want to go on more with Phoenix Colossi because I feel like too, even though like your High Templar are so late, I think it's actually important for the Terran to get ghosts to just like because the problem with Phoenix Colossi, in my opinion, which is I think one of the weaknesses of it, is early in the game you don't have that much meat. Like you're relying on your force fields to push their bio away from your Colossus. And because they're so busy thinking about they need to make a ton of Phoenixes to counter both the Phoenix and the Colossi, when in reality, like if they got like ghosts kind of early on, like at the standard timing, as if you were going for Templar, if you EMP the Zealots, your bio can tear through the Zealots so quickly that their Marauders can move up in closer to your Colossus and actually snipe them down. But I feel like there are some Terrans that are just like, oh, I just need like 24 Vikings as soon as possible, when I think that's actually going overboard, because then, like Primal said, they're busy focusing on just killing the Colossus, that they're not even worried about the Phoenix, and then your Phoenix can clean up the Medivacs and and you have charge lots and so on.
Phoenix also kill Vikings really fast. I don't think
Yeah.
Terran understand how fast
Mhm.
their Vikings die. It's that,
Think
and
about-
like, when you attack, you usually have Archons. Like the way I do this build is, or the way everyone should do this build is, you don't warp in any Stalkers. It's all Zealots, and you just keep chrono boosting Colossus Phoenix. Very easy, right? You get a third base, then you get your upgrades. You have to delay the upgrades to afford everything, and you just max out, and then you just attack. It's the Protoss way. It's so good, and it works a lot of the time because they won't have ghosts by then either. Like they can't really have ghosts unless they're not going to have enough Vikings. You know.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I want to pose this question. I don't play Terran, but I'm thinking about it from like a mathematical standpoint. Normally, in the matchup of PvP, the Terran player always gets attack on their Vikings, right, to kill the Colossi faster. Now, Phoenix shoot 2 shots and they shoot really fast. Would it actually be smarter, probably, for the Terran to get armor for their Vikings so their Vikings survive longer?
Definitely. What I was going to say earlier
Yeah, definitely.
is that the thing that Terrans need to remember about Phoenixes and Vikings is the reason, even though Vikings aren't light units, the reason that Phoenixes do kill them so fast is because they don't have any base armor, like an Overlord or something, you know? Like, it takes a long time for 4 Phoenixes to kill 1 Overlord, because it has 1 armor, and that reduces the output of a Phoenix by, like, 20%, you know?
Welcome back, Pat.
Hey,
Yeah, I agree.
So we have a question, and I know we're going to have questions at the end, but while we're on PvT, how do you guys feel about the late game? This is a question by Dipwood, by the way. How do you guys feel about the late game when you both have all your tech and they're slamming the ghost button and just making sure you never have enough energy or shields? Are there any cool micro tricks to utilize in those situations?
I think you should look at the first games we were talking about earlier, where he was playing alive, and just the cannons and the splitting of the High Templar, and he would have 10, 13 High Templar. And so sure, you didn't have them all hockeyed, and he'd lose like 1 or 2, but the storms that the ones that he could get off made losing those 3 or 4 High Templar for free absolutely worth it. And I think really in the late game, when they're just going Ghost Viking, and just like they're just slamming against you, I think that's almost how you have to play. You have to have the cannons, so if they cloak and they snipe your observer, you can still see them, and you have to have these Templar just spread out. You have to put more faith in the fact that you can go back, click the Templar on the minimap, and then storm the army before it gets sniped.
But even before the late game, I feel like even when you only have 3 or 4 High Templar, they should still be spread, because it all takes is 1 EMP, and then what do you have left? So.
You generally have High Templar with Storm before they have Ghosts.
Yep.
There's usually a little timing where you do, so you're kind of okay. But it's when they get Ghosts that you really want to have unhockeyed High Templar around the map, either at a staging point by your 3rd or your natural, depending on the map, or even places on the map. Like, there's really cool places, like on Akalon Waste.
Yeah.
The 2 pathways in the middle, the high grounds, put High Templars there. Like, it's so good. Or on if you have Watchtower control on Belshir, put them at the Watchtowers. Put them anywhere. You know, it's just really good. You just have to be
I
very...
agree, put them anywhere.
It really doesn't matter.
High Templar are good.
It's like, the more High Templar you can scatter around, like, the more attentive this Terran has to be to their army, and, like, how they have to scan ahead, you know? All you need is that 1 High Templar to land that 1 storm that, like, deals a ton of damage to their army. It doesn't have to kill anything, it just has to deal a ton of damage to force them back, you know? And you slowly kind of get an advantage.
And there's one more question from Venny, too. Do you completely unhotkey all of your High Templar, or do you leave some on a hotkey for those oh shit situations?
Well,
You always have
here's
some.
what First did. Like, if I go to what First did, he would have 3 or 4 High Templar with his army. He'd be moving around with the army, and then the other 7 to 10 High Templar were just spread across the map. So those Templar with the army are in case he's chasing you down, and you're like, crap, I need to get away, storm. And it's allow your army to get away. And the rest of the storms are more offensive. It's like, oh, there goes his army, storm. Or like it's all positioning at that point in time. And you don't need 10 storms with your army. You only need about 4 or 5.
I mean, it depends on the style you're playing, I think.
That is true.
But I would say you definitely want 6 High Templar with your army, depending on what you're doing. But once it gets to 4 bases, no reason you'd have to not have 6 of your army and then have 6 that are elsewhere. And by elsewhere, I would have like 3 of them like at a staging point, so you could add them into your heap, and then I would have the other three